Welcome to NFL Nexus. I am absolutely pumped to have you guys here today for this explainer because what we're diving into is honestly just a fascinating case study in modern team building. We are looking at the aggressive, highly volatile, and shifting roster building philosophy of the 2026 Pittsburgh Steelers. And look, we all know the history here, right? Historically, this franchise was completely defined by the quote-unquote Rooney way. For decades, especially under Kevin Colbert, that meant extreme patience. If you were a highly drafted player in Pittsburgh, you were basically given years to figure it out. The organization would just absorb those growing pains all in the name of continuity. But what we are seeing right now under general manager Omar Khan and head coach Mike McCarthy is a total seismic departure from that legacy. The rules of the Steel City have literally been rewritten. Khan is actively showing us that past draft investments do absolutely nothing to guarantee your future opportunity. But hey, before we get into the weeds and unpack all these massive roster moves, do me a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a like on this explainer, and comment down below with your thoughts as we go. Your engagement is what keeps our NFL Nexus community growing. Also, if you want to help support the channel in a really fun way, check out our custom coloring books. They are intricately designed and absolutely perfect for children, grandchildren, and honestly, adults as well who just want to unwind. You can grab them right now through the link in the description, or you can just scan the QR code right there on your screen. All right, let's get into it. We are looking at a franchise that has officially declared that patience is dead. The 2026 Steelers are pivoting hard, and they are doing it with zero hesitation. To really set the mood here, I want to kick things off with this incredible, totally unfiltered quote from quarterback Will Howard. Listen to this. He says, "You never know what's going to happen, never what the old man's going to do. Regardless, I'm ready to attack this season." The old man he's talking about? Yeah, that's Aaron Rodgers. And this quote is just absolutely perfect for setting the stage for the intense, high-stakes roster battles we're going to break down today. But what I really love about this statement is the context of where and when it happened. Howard didn't say this behind a podium at the team facility with PR people whispering in his ear. No, he dropped this gem to the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review while he was just out in the community, hanging out with kids at the Boys and Girls Club's McKeesport Teen Center. This was right on the precipice of OTAs. The swagger here is undeniable. His shoulders are back, he's taking on this leadership role in the local community, all while fully acknowledging this massive chaotic elephant in the room regarding his own career. To casually call a four-time MVP the old man shows a level of comfort and raw competitive fire that you just can't teach. He's preparing like he is the franchise guy, and that mindset perfectly encapsulates the high-pressure cooker of this 2026 Steelers locker room.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to hit a franchise making moves, then look at the Broderick-Jones decision, touch on reshaping the trenches, dive into a crowded quarterback room, and finally, deal with the shadow of Aaron Rodgers. Let's jump right into part one, a franchise making moves, and really dig into this Khan and McCarthy philosophy.
Okay. To truly grasp the gravity of what Khan and McCarthy are doing, we need to completely understand the mechanics of the NFL's collective bargaining agreement, specifically the fifth-year option. I know, cap mechanics can be dry, but stick with me because it is the entire foundation of what's happening in Pittsburgh. This option is a contract provision built exclusively into the rookie deals of first-round draft picks. Think of it as a bridge, right? It connects that cheap, 4-year early career evaluation period to a massive market-setting second contract. But here's the kicker. Back when they ratified the new CBA in 2020, the mechanics of this option drastically changed. It shifted a monumental amount of risk directly onto the front office. Before 2020, this option was only guaranteed for injury. A team could essentially pick it up, see how the guy played in year 4, and if he fell off a cliff, they could just cut him with very little financial penalty. It was basically a placeholder. Not anymore. Today, the very second a GM exercises that fifth-year option, every single penny of that salary becomes fully guaranteed. Period. And the price tag? It's calculated through a really rigid tier system. There's a basic tier just for making the roster, a playtime tier for guys who hit certain snap counts, and then it skyrockets if the player makes a Pro Bowl or multiple Pro Bowls on the original ballot. Because this cash is completely 100% guaranteed the moment the ink dries, exercising it is no longer just a casual formality. It's a massive financial commitment. When a front office declines this option today, they are blasting a league-wide siren that says, "We aren't sold on you, and we absolutely refuse to hold the bag if things go south." And that structural reality is the exact lens we have to look through to understand the biggest domino that just fell in Pittsburgh.
That brings us perfectly to part two, the Broderick-Jones decision and his suddenly looming 2027 free agency.
According to NFL insider Jeremy Fowler, the Steelers officially declined the fifth-year option for left tackle Broderick-Jones. And the price tag attached to that option? $19.1 million, fully guaranteed. We really need to pause and break down the sheer magnitude of that number in relation to the salary cap. $19.1 million is not developmental money. That is elite, top-tier offensive tackle money. When you look at the absolute ceiling of the market, guys like Laramie Tunsil or Trent Williams who are making somewhere north of $23 to $25 million annually, eating a $19.1 million cap hit for a single season is an incredibly tough pill to swallow for a player who hasn't proven he's an undeniable All-Pro. By looking at that number and saying no thanks, the Steelers have officially made Jones a 2027 free agent. They've ripped away the safety net. Broderick Jones is now heading into a reality where he has to earn his long-term financial future on a highly stressful year-to-year and honestly game-to-game basis. And guys, this is monumental. Because remember how Omar Khan started his tenure as GM? He aggressively traded up in the draft to secure Jones at 14th overall. Back then, Jones was universally viewed as the ultimate franchise cornerstone, the 10-year blindside protector that they were going to build the whole offense around. By declining this option, Omar Khan is proving, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that even his own hand-picked premium draft investments are not immune to this new standard of absolute zero patience.
To really put this into perspective, just look at this timeline. It perfectly illustrates the turbulent progression of his career. He comes in drafted 14th overall after that aggressive trade-up. He was always seen as a high-upside developmental project. And over time, he accumulated 38 career starts. And the thing is, before things went sideways, his play was actually stabilizing. He was showing those flashes of dominant, overwhelming run-blocking power that made him a first-round talent out of Georgia in the first place. But then we hit the major pivot point. He sustained a neck injury during the 2025 season. In the National Football League, and particularly in the trenches, the biomechanical reality of playing offensive tackle makes a neck injury absolutely devastating. I mean, just think about the physics of the position for a second. You were dealing with 280 to 300-pound edge rushers, absolute freak athletes, colliding with you at full speed on every single snap. That kinetic force transfers violently through the hands, down the arms and shoulders, and directly into the cervical spine as the tackle attempts to drop his hips and anchor against a bull rush. A neck injury isn't just about playing through pain, it severely compromises a lineman's fundamental ability to absorb shock, maintain core stability, and keep proper head placement. This injury clearly sent a massive red flag through the organization's medical staff and front office. It added a thick layer of caution that ultimately derailed what should have been a locked-in extension window, leading directly to that option being declined here in 2026. Going forward, Jones's durability and shock absorption capabilities are going to be hyper-scrutinized under a microscope in every single padded practice.
Moving right along to Part 3, Reshaping the Trenches, where we see new faces bringing totally new pressures.
So Omar Khan didn't just decline Broderick Jones's option and hope for the best. No, he proactively and aggressively changed the entire structural landscape of the offensive tackle room to protect the franchise. First, he drafted offensive tackle Max Ihanakor. Then, he went right back to the well and drafted another offensive tackle, Jennings Dunker. And to tie it all together and completely reset the culture, the Steelers brought in a highly respected veteran offensive line coach in James Campen. This creates a fascinating and honestly a highly pressurized environment for everyone involved. James Campen is no joke. He brings a very specific, highly regarded pedigree. He's best known for his legendary run with the Green Bay Packers, where he worked hand-in-hand with Mike McCarthy for over a decade. Together, they developed elite, technically flawless pass protectors like David Bakhtiari and Brian Bulaga. Campen demands independent hand usage, elite foot mirroring, and extreme core strength. And here's the catch for Broderick Jones. Campen is coming into Pittsburgh evaluating everyone from an absolute blank slate. He has zero prior loyalties to Jones. By bringing in Ihanakor and Dunker, two big, highly physical prospects with the raw measurables perfectly suited to be molded into Campen's system, Pittsburgh has given itself incredible optionality. They are meticulously laying out multiple contingency plans. If Jones comes back, proves his neck is structurally sound, and adapts perfectly to Campen's intricate techniques, great. A lucrative second contract is still on the table. But if those neck issues linger, or if he just can't adapt to the new technical demands, the Steelers have already loaded the pipeline with young, hand-picked depth who are ready to step on the field without skipping a beat.
All right, let's shift gears away from the trenches to Part 4, a crowded quarterback room, and this incredibly fascinating three-way dynamic.
This is where things get really spicy. We are looking at a head-to-head comparison of two young prospects actively vying for control of this offense. On one side, we have Will Howard. He's an energized prospect, a former Ohio State national champion with a proven dual-threat capability, and he is out there completely locking in on his minicamp and training camp reps. He's got the prototypical size, he's got the arm strength, and as we saw from that quote earlier, he is attacking this offseason with the focused, commanding demeanor of a veteran starter. But competing directly against him is Drew Aller. And guys, the specific mechanics of how Aller actually arrived in Pittsburgh add an immense, almost suffocating amount of pressure to his evaluation. Aller is this massive 6'5", 240-plus pound pocket passer. He's a local star who played his college ball just down the road at Penn State. The Steelers drafted him 76th overall. But we cannot talk about Drew Aller without talking about the exact origin of that draft capital. That 76th overall pick came directly from the massive 2025 blockbuster trade that sent wide receiver George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. Think about that. The Steelers intentionally traded away a known explosive commodity in Pickens, a guy with an elite catch radius and incredible vertical stretching ability, specifically to acquire the capital that brought them Aller. That transaction places an astronomical amount of intrinsic value and expectations squarely on Aller's shoulders. The front office basically looked at the roster and decided that drafting this Penn State prospect was worth losing their primary perimeter weapon. It sets up this spectacular clash of young talent, Howard, the confident champion soaking up the physical reps, battling Aller, the local kid whose very presence on the team literally cost them a star wide receiver.
And the plot thickens because Coach McCarthy hasn't exactly been shy about sharing his opinions on this battle. While speaking on Mad Dog Sports Radio to Adam Shane, McCarthy was absolutely raving about Will Howard. He said, and I quote, "I think he's definitely a real prospect as a starting quarterback. I think he's going to be definitely a starter in this league." You really have to dig into the context of who is delivering this quote to understand the massive weighted carries. Mike McCarthy isn't just some coordinator hyping up his guys. He is a Super Bowl winning head coach who has spent his entire career working intimately with some of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the sport. He knows how to mold and evaluate elite talent at the absolute highest level. So, for a coach with his specific development pedigree to go on national radio and publicly boost an unproven young quarterback like this, it is highly unusual and it is incredibly significant. This statement legitimately skyrockets Howard's chances for QB1 honors heading into training camp. It tells us, without a doubt, that the coaching staff views Howard not just as a temporary camp arm, but as a highly viable long-term asset capable of operating McCarthy's complex passing concepts. When a head coach puts his personal evaluation reputation on the line to praise a prospect in public like this, it reverberates through the entire locker room. It essentially grants Howard the ultimate green light to take vocal command of the huddle.
But of course, there is one massive catch. Part 5. The shadow of Aaron Rodgers and the old man's pending decision.
Because at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers remains entirely undecided on his return. He hasn't officially filed his retirement papers with the league office. He hasn't officially committed to participating in the upcoming season. By intentionally dragging out this decision, he is keeping the starting throne wide open and leaving the entire Pittsburgh depth chart in a literal state of suspended animation. The procedural and salary cap mechanics of the situation are incredibly restrictive for Omar Khan and the front office. Because Rodgers hasn't officially retired or been placed on the reserve/retired list, his massive base salary and all those roster bonus remain actively budgeted on the Steelers' books. The front office is financially paralyzed. They are completely unable to allocate those millions of dollars to other crucial areas of the roster, say wide receiver or defensive depth, just in case he actually decides to return. Furthermore, think about the daily reality for Mike McCarthy and the coaching staff. How on earth do you divide the highly coveted first-team repetitions during OTAs and training camp, even with Will Howard out there feeling energized and getting high praise, and Drew Aller desperately trying to adjust to the playbook to justify that Pickens trade? The undeniable reality is that Aaron Rodgers could simply stroll through the front doors of the facility in August and instantly consume 90% of the starting reps. McCarthy specifically left the door wide open for his former Green Bay Packer to return. This means the Steelers are operating a deeply complex, incredibly stressful dual-track offseason. They are aggressively preparing and evaluating their youth while simultaneously holding both the financial cap space and the starting job wide open for the legend.
So I want to leave you guys with this final provocative thought based on the really deep dive we've conducted today. Look closely at the overarching picture of this franchise right now. We have a front office ruthlessly declining a $19.1 million guaranteed option on a former 14th overall pick who is attempting to return from a biomechanically devastating neck injury. We have an aggressive, multi-layered reshaping of the offensive trenches with fresh draft picks and a demanding new positional coach. We have a highly pressurized quarterback battle featuring a prospect acquired via the massive George Pickens trade capital going head-to-head with a player the head coach is publicly championing on national radio. And hovering above all of this incredibly intense, high-stakes positional competition is the silent, financially paralyzing shadow of a four-time MVP who literally holds the keys to the entire franchise in his pocket. Given this swift roster pivot and the sheer lack of patience for underperformance, what do you think? Are the Steelers building a gritty, resilient contender perfectly molded for the modern NFL, or are they heading straight for a chaotic, deeply unsettled transition period? Thank you so much for joining me today on NFL Nexus. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment your answer to that final question down below. I love reading your takes. And again, help support the channel by purchasing our coloring books. They are perfect for children, grandchildren, and adults as well. Access them through the link in the description or via the QR code on the screen. Keep analyzing the details, keep questioning the moves, and I will see you guys in the next explainer.